Señor Presidente Otto Pérez Molina.
Thank you very much to all of you for being here tonight. It is a true honor for me, and it is very important. I would like to thank especially the President of Congress, Mr. Guy Rivera. I would also like to thank the President of the Supreme Court of Justice, Mrs. Del Maldana. Thank also Mr. Jose Maria Argueta, Secretary of Intelligence of the Presidency, Mrs. Carolina Giacomello, Technical Coordinator of the Beckley Foundation. But of course, I would like to thank the Countess Amanda Fielding, Director of the Beckley Foundation. Thank you very much for being here in Guatemala for the second time, and thank you very much for accepting the invitation that we have given you to open the Beckley Foundation here in Guatemala, the chapter that will be for Guatemala but will represent all of Latin America. Thank you very much for that decision to walk with us in this fight that I believe is very important. There is a phrase that says that we should not only see the tree, but also see the forest. This saying is very true. I would also add to it that we don't need to see only the tree or the forest, but we need to see beyond the forest. We need to see what is behind the forest. And I think that is what we are doing here today. I think that's what the Beckley Foundation started doing many years ago, trying to find another path, other alternatives that are very important to be able to efficiently fight this plague that has been causing so much damage, not only to Guatemala and Central America or the continent, but also to the world. And I'm very pleased to add our efforts to all of those who had already signed this public letter of the Beckley Foundation, which describes the global initiative for the reform on drug policy and illegal substances. The drugs and policies against them are almost as old as humanity itself. During the second half of the past century, and Amanda mentioned it at some point, prohibitionist policy was established. And it translated into the front-on attack against drugs. And this war, according to publications of the United Nations, has an approximate cost each year of $40,000 million. This cost in human lives, however, is not quantifiable. It has no value. It's time to acknowledge that notwithstanding the efforts and the great economic and human costs, this war, as a society, as a global society, we are losing. And we have to acknowledge it, and we have to be brave enough to say it. For Guatemala, the cost of this fight is much more dramatic, because geographically, we are situated between the main producing zones and the largest consumer market. We suffer the consequences of this war almost in an accidental way. This strategic location, the profitability of the business, and the insatiable demand of the consumer markets have turned our country into a territory whose control is being disputed by the most bloody bands of criminals who are dedicated to drug trafficking. I would like to make known with all clarity that as a state and as a responsible member of the international community, we are and we will continue to fight without reprieve, with character, and firmly against these bands of criminals whose ambition has planted blood and destruction in our peoples, trying to corrupt our public officers and undermine the institutionality of our states. But the experience of our fight has made us seek new alternatives. to be able to face the situation that punishes without mercy all of the people in the region in Central America, in our continent, and even in the world. To do this, it's necessary to open ourselves to other initiatives that may represent different alternatives to be more effective in our fight, and that at the same time will allow us to do more and better efforts to resolve issues whose priority are indisputable, to offer more education to our children, more health for our families, and more security for our people, and to create opportunities and protect the future of our youth. It is evident that the strategy that has been followed in the fight against narco-trafficking during the past 40 or 50 years has failed. It has not given the results that we expected, and that is why we have proposed to stimulate a debate about this plague, not only in the Central American region, but we also took it to the continent during the last Summit of the Americas that took place in Cartagena. I'm convinced that together we can find new strategies, we can find new routes to effectively face the harm that narco-trafficking has caused us. That is why we have invited the Beckley Foundation to establish their Latin American chapter here in Guatemala. This chapter will serve, as Amanda had already mentioned, as an office to carry out scientific research about the large number of problems that narco-trafficking leaves behind in Central America. And we trust that what we discover will allow us to define new courses of action in our common fight to eradicate this plague from the Central American region. Globally, this traffic is one of the largest problems at the national level. It is a problem that every day we have to face, and we do so, as I said before, firmly and decisively. But the moment has come to find new paths, and to do so, we must have information that is systematically processed, which will allow us to produce useful knowledge to be able to end the main factor that generates violence in our region. With the support of the Beckley Foundation, the government of Guatemala will have the opportunity to make decisions based genuinely on scientific studies and not on opinions. All of us know that science, in and of itself, cannot dictate state policies. But if our state policies are not based on science, they may collapse in prejudice, moralities, and dogmas. With this signature, we are taking a step forward towards the future to produce proposals that optimize our resources, to reduce the effects that drug trafficking is causing. The key will be then information, prevention, education, and raising awareness. With the help of organizations such as the Beckley Foundation, I am sure that our country is on the correct path towards a solution directed in benefit of the population. We will produce political solutions that are be more efficient and humane, strategies that will allow a more efficient implementation of the adopted measures, and a redirectioning of our investment in issues that our country needs urgently. I am convinced that what Amanda did by founding this group that has grown worldwide and that is known today as the Beckley Foundation is based, as was mentioned before, on evidence, on the reduction of harm, and on the respect for human rights. And we want to leave that dichotomy in which the world has been debating, which is between the liberalization of drugs and prohibitionism. We believe that there are third alternatives. We believe that regulation is one of those third alternatives. These are the alternatives that we need to explore. These are alternatives that we need to dare to break those taboos, as has been said, and to break those myths so that the leaders, so that the heads of state, in their role that they are exercising, can sit at a table, debate, and discuss this plague that has inflicted so much damage. We need to have the capability to read correctly the times that we are living in now. And I think that time has demonstrated that the route that we have followed has not taken us to win this fight against narco-trafficking. And that is why we dare to explore new routes. We dare to invite to dialogue. We join the ideas that the Beckley Foundation has promoted, and we are sure that this will allow us to find new paths that will be more efficient and will give us the result that for so long we have sought. But beside that, it will allow us to direct the efforts in our country to what we need so desperately: more health, more education, more jobs, and more opportunities for everyone. May God bless you. Thank you very much.